Okay, well, that is our cue to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our Assistive Technology Solutions Echo. We're thrilled to have you join us. If you've not put your name and contact information into the chat, if you could take a minute to do that, again, just helps us all get to know each other on this virtual call. We, as you noticed, are recording today's session. We do use those for educational and quality improvement. We store them on our Canvas page. So if you would like access to them later on and share those with this with other colleagues, feel free to access those on our Canvas page. By joining today's session, you are consenting to be recorded. So don't hit that disconnect button, but we just need to let you know that we are recording it. We love interaction. We hopefully can feel that in this virtual world. So that's where we ask you to turn on your cameras, put your questions and comments into chat. Kurt Phillips, one of our hub members, monitors that for us. So he will make sure your questions are asked throughout this session, as well as any follow-up. We love that interaction. And again, just a way to solidify this is with a case narrative. So if you would like to learn about a particular case that you're dealing with from all these amazing people on the call, please consider submitting a case narrative where we can discuss it and you get a ton of resources and recommendations from everybody. We do talk about some sensitive topics as well as some of the clients and families that we work with. So please protect individual privacy. So de-identify all their information. If you have any questions about that, reach out to one of the hub members. They have an asterisk or will now have an asterisk in front of their name, making them easier to find in chat for you guys. And you can always reach out to them if you're unsure, or reach out to myself and I will be able to answer your questions. Key components of an echo session are we will always have a subject matter expert. We are thrilled today to have Dora from Shriners, and I have not seen your counterpart yet, Dora, so as soon as he joins, I'll let him introduce. And then we have a case presentation and feedback. And that's where some of that professional networking happens over this virtual world. If you want to take a minute and rename your profile, again, it just helps us get to know each other and where we're all from, as well as how to raise your hand feature. We've all been on Zoom for a while now. It seems like it shouldn't be this long, but COVID threw us into this. So you can raise your hand or do your reactions on anything. If you can just take a minute and turn your camera on, we'd really encourage that, as well as doing some introductions of yourself before you ask that question. And please keep your questions brief and on topic to just do that, some respect to our presenter. Throughout today's session, we will be dropping, Leo drops a survey link so that we can send you a credit for attendance. That survey just gives us information that we can turn into our funders to share the amazing work that's going on in these and be able to keep these echo sessions free. That's how we send out a certificate every month to everybody who completes those surveys. Canvas, again, is where we store everything. So if you would like access to our Canvas page, please email projectecho@usu.edu and we will get you set up to our Canvas. It's where we store any PowerPoints, resources, everything about the case are all in that one place. Again, just another plug for case studies. And if you're interested in doing that, reach out to projectecho@usu.edu and we will get you set up. I am going to stop sharing and turn the time over to Dora from Shriners Hospital, who's going to do our presentation today. So thank you, Dora.
Thank you, Janelle. Thank you for making some time for me to join and present about Shriners. So I'm just going to make sure my presentation is shareable before I start. Let's see here. Maybe.
We just practiced it. You had it down.
Yes, there it goes. Oh boy. Let's try this again. Share screen. Okay, there it goes. Are you able to see it now?
Yep, it's perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So my name's Dora. I am one of the liaisons for Shriners Children's in the Northwest. And my role is to connect with providers, um, and also anybody that wants to connect and learn more about Shriners and just continue that relationship so that you are taken care of and that your patients can access our care. Anything that has to do with Shriners when it comes to accessing documentation for your patients as well. I'm your contact for that. And I'll go over that a little bit more. And as I start my presentation, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not able to see them because I can only see my presentation here, but feel free to stop me as I go and fill you in on all the updates about Shriners. There has been a lot the last few years. So, Shriners Children's, we are your pediatric specialty care partners in the state of Utah. We're in the whole nation, but um, one of the things that we like to highlight is that we have been recognized as the best children's hospital in the World News Report for the year of 2025 to 2026. And that is together with Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital. So, for those of you that don't know, it's been about 5 or 6 years since our inpatient has been closed. That means we don't do surgeries in our location. But we have always had a partnership with Primary Children's Hospital, and that's why this is together. The way that works is if a patient is referred to Shriners and they're seeing our providers and the patient needs surgery, then we will book a suite at Primary Children's, and it's our patient and it is our surgeon doing that surgery at Primary Children's. Um, and we've always done that, but because orthopedics has changed so much and it's mostly outpatient, this was just a way that the Shriners organization has been able to even enhance and be able to take care of more patients in more places by doing this across the system to as many locations where we had a partnership. Um, and so a little bit history of Shriners in Salt Lake City. So we started in 1925 here in the St. Mark's Hospital. We were off a wing off of that. Um, and first of all, Shriners first started in 1922 with when there was a polio outbreak. And that's where they saw a lot of ability to be able to help the patients with orthopedic conditions. And then it goes in Salt Lake City. We celebrated 100-year celebrations last year. So we're at 101 years this in 2026. And then in 1951, Shriners started to build their own hospital. And then this bottom picture is where we are located in 1995. This is the newest Shriners Hospital in Salt Lake City, and continuing to go. The mission is, how can we be here for another 100 years and thriving and continuing to do that as well? Um, and the mission itself is to provide the highest quality care of children. When I introduced myself, I mentioned that I am also covering the Northwest. So we are a growing organization, and that when I mentioned they want the expertise care of orthopedic surgeons, that is nationwide. We are the largest group nationally that work together. Some of the things I'm going to share is you'll have access directly to in Salt Lake City, but also we work as a partnership as sister hospitals. So if there's anything that we don't provide here, we can always transfer those patients to other locations where they have that care as well. And then providers for the education, they've just announced that they're going to have a research specific location to always enhance and look at how we can have better care for patients, always enhancing that. And then as a part of that is that research and education. So this is an all around view of system wide. So we're in over 50 states and over representation over 128 countries. So this is a national organization. And then life-changing surgeries, it just kind of gives you a number of all around system wide. This is for our 2025 year, new patients. And then we have rehab procedures to inpatients. Some of our hospitals are still inpatient. And then also prosthetics and orthotics, our donations, and how we're able to continue our mission. Something that I wanted to highlight is Shriners has always been known for their mission, which is we will help families regardless of their ability to pay. That has not changed. It is exactly the same. Something that has been added. I actually started working at Shriners in the prosthetics and orthotics department 15 years ago. And when I was at the window, families would come and they would say, can you take my insurance? I have insurance. Like, we are not set up to take any insurance or any money. Everything is just completely directed to donations. And some families and some providers weren't referred because of that. And even though the mission was always like, we're here for everybody. So in 2008, when that started to change, when the economy got hit pretty hard, and they decided, you know what, let's go ahead and let's work with insurances so we can go through that process of insurances. And so in Salt Lake City, we are a network with all the insurance organizations. Everybody has access to that. Something that also changed is we grew in those international places. So we used to have a lot of patients come here from other countries. So they've started to do outreach clinics and actually have mobile places there so they could have care close to home. So you can see Mexico is one of the ones that grew a lot the last 7 years. We've always had a hospital there, but that they have their own clinics now. So the mission here in Salt Lake City is everybody has access to that mission, which is let's take care of these patients regardless of what insurance they have, Medicaid, or if they're underinsured or if they don't have insurance. They have access to that model of patients will be taken care of regardless of their ability to pay. Excuse me, and they will not have a financial hardship. So Salt Lake City here is the Pediatric Orthopedic Rehab Center. That's what we're called now. So instead of the family has to go out to multiple appointments, so ear, nose, and throat specialists, genetics, dietitians, anything that would be beneficial for those complex clinics, we'll have them come in and they just have one appointment. And I'll follow that a little bit more. And then we also have the wheelchair and seating mobility department, rehabilitation services, prosthetics and orthotics, and the motion analysis center. So Dr. Teresa Hennessy was announced to be our medical director last year. So she is over all of the clinic and all of the providers. So she focuses on hip dysplasia, pediatric fractures, limb deformities, clubfoot, and other deformities as well. But she is fantastic. If you ever need to connect with her, she is always welcome to connecting. So where kids with orthopedic conditions thrive. So here our focus is, so it's musculoskeletal, from sports injuries to fractures. We have a fracture hotline, so that information I'll provide, but if there's a patient that has a fracture that has been stabilized, you can refer for that here, and that's growing. That clinic is growing even more. Sports injuries, and scoliosis is also very common. Cerebral palsy, spina bifida are some of our clinics that are more specialized, which I mentioned will have other providers come in to be a part of those clinics. And then our largest clinic is the clubfoot clinic. We have, that is probably from what I understand, it is the largest one that we have in the nation. And also limb discrepancy, I'll share a little bit more about that. And then congenital hand abnormalities. We have 2 hand specialists as well as a part of our team, and 2 plastic surgeons here in Salt Lake. We also have, we see a lot of patients for newborns for hip conditions as well. We also visit maternal fetal medicine. So even if we know the child's going to have this, we have a program where they can come meet the provider, have a tour, and they can discuss what's going to happen even before the baby's born. Rickets and then spinal cord injuries, those are across our system. And then pediatric orthopedics. So once they're seen for all the orthopedic conditions, we are also, that wraparound care is one of the very unique parts. So prosthetics and orthotics is one of the things that they do in-house. So let's see, they're seeing a patient with limb deformities, or they have an amputation, or if they have anything from flat feet that they need inserts to a limb deficiency, they'll add that to the shoes. If they're having surgery, they'll continue to grow that. Something that's unique about these, so something really common in prosthetics and orthotics they see the most is for flat feet and also limb deficiency and braces for scoliosis. We have what's called an EOS machine. So we have an radiology team that works in-house. And an EOS machine is actually 90% less radiation than any other machine. So with these conditions that are very common, they're having to, every time they're growing so quickly, and they're having to adjust all these either devices or braces, it's very important to us that the patient has the least amount of radiation exposure to them. So that's one of the things that's very beneficial. And then also other things that they'll have is if the patient has an amputation, they have adjustments. I don't know if you've heard of Hunter Woodhall. He was in the Paralympics last year. He announces Shriners all the time. This is where he got his first running prosthetics, and he won gold in the last Summer Olympics. So that was really exciting to have him here. But the reason I mention him is because so many times these patients don't have the ability to go and do beyond, have the equipment they need or the devices or prosthetics they need to live beyond their limitations, without them having to worry about the financial part of insurance covers or not. So he always mentions how excited he was that he had that ability to have access to that here at Shriners in Salt Lake. This young man in the middle, he is from Chile, and he wanted to try rock climbing. So if they don't know how to make it, or well, not if it hasn't been made, and if it's something that the patient wants to try, that's the unique part about our mission, that we don't want to create limitations, and we will make that happen for them. So that's just a little unique part. That's obviously on the prosthetics side of it. And then when it comes to orthopedics, like I mentioned, if they have fractures, if they need a boot or anything like that, we provide all that in-house. They work side by side by our providers to make sure the patient has what they need. And then the rehabilitation services. So this is physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, recreational therapy. And then they have the local mat. I'll show you a little picture of that right here. So it's right in the middle between the young girl in the bike and the walker right here. So um, the newest change for this department is that if you have a patient or if you know somebody that needs physical therapy or occupational therapy or speech therapy, you can send the referral directly for them to have that. Before, it used to be that the patient had to go through our clinic, and then internally we would refer to those. So PT, OT, and speech. Now you have direct access to refer directly just for those conditions, for those treatments. So they also have an adaptive bike program, which means there's usually a wait list, but so many patients don't have access to this that we have them on there and we're able to provide that for them. And then they also have the unlimited amputee camp. So in the winter, they go skiing and snowboarding. And then in the winter, they go water rafting for a week. And all of those are covered by Shriners. So we have patients come all over the nation for those. And the family doesn't have to worry about the financial part. Everything is covered. So here's a few conditions that are treated in the rehabilitation services. So orthopedic conditions, neuromuscular conditions, acute injuries, developmental delayed, fine gross motor delays, and post operative therapy as well. And then upper extremity casting and splinting, sensory processing, and lower extremity casting. So really anything orthopedic or neuromuscular, they will be able to take care of. This picture is a little blurry. I couldn't download the video. It said it was too large for me to put it into this because I made a different PowerPoint. So the Locomat is actually this was added here in Salt Lake in 2020, and 2 years ago, 26, 25, 24. Yeah, 24. So this is actually really unique. So it's one of the most high-end robotic therapy devices that we have. And then within our other systems, the other location that's nearest us is Portland. But here we're pretty much, I think there might be another one in Utah, but for pediatrics, this is specifically here to Shriners. The Locomat, the patient will be, there's a harness that has sensors on it, on the legs and on the ankles as well. So as the patient has that on there and they're moving, this little TV has a little avatar that they're watching. And as the patient is moving, it captures all the data and gives feedback to the therapist that's doing the therapy. And that allows them to adjust one side more than the other, depending on the side that they're trying to strengthen. So very unique, very high-end technology. Something that we found out is that as a therapist, we're doing this treatment. Obviously, if it's getting back from rehab from an injury to patients that will never be able to walk, it really enhances those patients' ability to move in a way that they wouldn't otherwise, the specific therapy. And actually preventative in future surgeries because they're moving in ways that is continuing to move them as well. And something that they mentioned is their ability, the valve movements, because they're moving. This is something that's really a concern and a difficulty for these patients. Often they're not able to walk or move, but they've noticed that the parents are like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually helping my daughter or son be able to go be a little more regular." So very unique. And then also a part of the physical therapy department, rehab services is the wheelchair department. They also have a special needs car seat clinic. So any patient that has weakness of their core, anyone under the age of 18, they have access to this clinic. So they're evaluated in our clinic by our provider. And then they start in the vehicle, see what they look like, go into the clinic, and then they will fit them in the correct seat. And then we'll go through that process of making sure that they're taken care of. Insurance is tricky with this part. Something that is still happening to this day in the state of Utah. I don't know about nationwide, but patients that have been diagnosed with autism, the car seats are denied because they see that as being a behavioral issue. And our medical director has approved for us to see them specifically for this department because there's nobody else that will uh, assist them or be able to provide these car seats. There's multiple seats. They're not all like this, but we're happy to evaluate and take care of them. Um,
Laura,
something,
there's a quick question in there in the
yes.
chat. It just asked, do you still currently have a wheelchair orthotics clinic? Amelia says we send many patients there often, but understand you've had a large staff turnover.
Yes. Thank you for asking that. They are still continuing to do that. They are still working on readjusting that department. Right now, the therapists that are doing the other traditional therapy are continuing to do the evaluations, and then we have that fitting part. We're still having the vendors come in and work with our staff, our therapists, to do the evaluations. Um, it's still running the same, but we're still working on getting other therapists to be fully staffed.
Hey Dora, it's Rick. Sorry, I joined late. I ran a little bit over with some patient care. I can definitely help answer that question. Yes, we're still providing for wheelchair services the exact same services that we were providing. We did have some staffing turnover. We've been able to kind of fill that initial void with the internal staff that we have to help out with wheelchairs evaluations and letters of medical necessity and procuring wheelchairs for patients. Um, we've kind of transitioned a lot of our follow-up care from physical therapists to our wheelchair technicians who have hit the ground running and are doing an amazing job with it. And we are currently working on restaffing and filling those voids. So as far as wheelchairs concerned, we are up and operating at a nearly a full capacity. We just need to get a couple more staff on board.
Thank you, Rick. Are there any questions specific to the rehab services that I just mentioned? Rick is over that department, so he has all the knowledge that that you would need. All right, I will. If does that answer the question for the person that asked that? If you need more information, we're happy to answer that as well.
Amelia said yes. That
Oh,
answered the question. Thank you.
perfect. Thank you. All right. And something else is oh boy, this might have changed the name, but it's called the baby bug, the last I heard. So this little gal in the left. So usually this is a program that they'll have for the younger patients. Usually this is a program, it's called the loaner program. So as they're usually starting to crawl between 9 months to a little further, they created this program. Just they're always looking to see how they can grow and expand and meet the needs of the patients. So so this is something that they'll loan out as they're starting to hit that age range, and then they will get them the goal of see how they can be creative and start them moving. There's a video out there that they did with a mom that she explains how unique that experience was for their family as they're trying to see their little one trying to go after the sibling or try to get a toy. Just it's beyond the chair. It's how they can get their creativity and moving, even if they'll be able to walk when they're older, but they just want to make sure that they're able to create that creativity and exploration in them as young as they can. And that's continuing to be a program that they're also progressing in. And then also this is a Go chair right here. This is a chair that it comes apart in 4 different pieces, so they can fit in the back of any vehicle that we have that has access to Shriners. It's a lot of the times the families won't have the ability to get a new home or have a ramp. So this allows for them to have an easy access to fit in the back of a vehicle and to have in home or in school as well. I know that they always work with the schools with IEPs to make sure that they're working with families. And it's neat because the technicians have so much skill to be able to create these seats to fit like a glove to each specific patient. So able to do that with the power and manual chairs. And then the motion analysis department. So there are 14 of these in the nation, and I believe 12 of them are within our Shriner system. If you can think of how they make video games, movies in Hollywood, they usually have someone in a green suit, a background. So this is the exact same technology. This was actually created for healthcare, for them to enhance care and research. But Hollywood came in after and like, this is pretty neat. So I thought it was vice versa, but recently I learned that it was specifically for healthcare, and Hollywood made some cool things out of it. So this is extraordinary technology to have in a hospital, because they are doing a study. So it's a physical therapist doing that. Is usually they start when the patient can follow directions. So usually about 3-4 years old, depending on the patient. Any gait abnormality that they may have, they can have access to this specific study. So it's about an hour and a half long. The floor, actually, you can see the cameras in the background, and they're also filming, and they put these markers on the patient, so it's capturing all the movement, and the floor is censored. So as they're moving, it's capturing what ligaments and tendons are being triggered. And so it just and it also they also have the ability to do a pressure mapping to see for those patients that have flat feet. So it gathers so much information. And what they do with this information is they will sit down with Dr. Englert. So they will do a full study, and they will sit with Dr. Englert and then Amy Shukra, who is over all the gait analysis, motion analysis. And then they'll sit down with an engineer, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and the bracing department. And they have all this knowledge in one room, and they're discussing each patient to see what the best treatment will be for each individual patient as they have all this. And many times they'll have a surgery scheduled with another surgeon, or they'll have a different plan, and they will, after doing this analysis, they'll look and see that that will not be what's the best, will give the best outcome to the patient. So they will actually go back and say, hey, what kind of therapy do they need? What kind of bracing will they need? They will do this before or post-surgery as well, and then in the future. So this is so unique. And these are a few of the other conditions that they are see often for these evaluations. So for patients with cerebral palsy, complex movement disorders, patients with club feet, leg length discrepancy as well. And then in-toeing, out-toeing, toe walkers, flat feet, and then sport injury related, anything to sport injury related conditions as well. And then other services. So we have care managers that will assist the family with that care management part of it with our providers. We have a radiology team. And then they do have, for patients that are further from here, they can always start with telehealth. Their first appointments, they'll connect with the provider, and then they'll set a plan when they come for their appointments. And then we have child life specialists that are part of our clinics as well. And then our patient ambassador program. And now how to refer. So we have a referral form, as long as we have the patient's demographics and we have the diagnosis of the patient and what you would like us to treat. You can send that referral directly with some, if it's already a program that you have set, or if you want the referral form, I will send that as well. If you have Epic access to Epic, you can view the notes on there, or they're faxed to you as well. I'm the one that can assist you with getting Epic for your clinics as well. I know that's so important to know what is going on in that communication with the care that they're receiving here. So that's also, you have access to that at Shriners as well. And then we do have interpreter services, and then assistance with the financial part and lodging, transportation. We have an internal navigator that can assist the patients with all of those questions as well. Really, it's anybody under the age of 18. If any patients have been a part of our system and they need to continue care because of the complexity, that's something that they run through the medical director, but they can be seen further than that as well. I think we're pretty close. I don't know if you want to open it to questions so far, and then we have a little video I can show at the end, but are any questions?
So if you do have questions, you can raise your hand or put it in chat and we'll.
Question I had was, you mentioned about the adaptive bike program. Can you just provide a little more detail on that? Is it like a loan bank of adaptive bikes, or how does that work?
Yeah, I can definitely help answer that question. We usually end up giving out about 100 to 120 bikes every year. They need to come in, patients need to come in for a physical therapy evaluation. And we have somewhat minimal criteria to be able to give bikes. It's that they need to be able to start the bike, stop the bike on their own, have a clean, dry space to store it, and to be able to pedal at least 5 revolutions on their own. Typically, we're ordering new bikes for these kids. We get some generous donations from the community to help with that. As kids outgrow their bikes, if they're still in great working shape, we can upcycle those and get those out to other kids who are on the list.
Are they true bicycles? Do you have trikes also?
Sorry, yeah, the great question. All of the above. So if it's a true bicycle, we can outfit those with what's really oversized training wheels that are called fat wheels. So there's a couple of different sizes of those that can be attached directly to a traditional bike. We do adaptive tricycles, and we do recumbent bikes as well.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Can I just ask another question, Dora, real quick? I
Of
don't know if we
course.
covered this. I may have missed this. This is Kurt. What's the wait time if we were to refer someone down to Shriners for wheelchair fitting or orthotic care, that kind of stuff? Is there a typical wait period? Just does it depend on the time of year, or what are we looking at there? Just so we can let our clients or patients know kind of what to expect.
Absolutely. So when it comes to seeing one of our orthopedic surgeons, that it's obviously it fluctuates, but right now is within a week, max 10 days. And that's for patients with hip, knee, leg, ankle, foot, toe, like upper extremity conditions. That's within five to 10 days. Scoliosis, all that. Our multidisciplinary and specialty clinics are set to be once a month or every 3 months, every 6 months, but we won't have them wait to be in those clinics. We will start them off with an orthopedic surgeon or PA first to get them started with all those services for wheelchair, motion analysis center, orthotics, prosthetics. So we'll get them in within that time. And then their next appointment would be set as a team with all those multidisciplinary providers at the same time. And then specifically so prosthetics and orthotics is about the same. They're seen within that same week to 2 weeks as well. When it comes to physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's within 2 weeks for PT and
Yep.
OT.
Yep.
And
I would
then,
say for PT, for OT, for occupational therapy, it's definitely within a week. And I would say the limiting factor is more of like how quickly can the families coordinate their schedules to get in. So it's usually 1, maybe 2 weeks tops for occupational therapy. Physical therapy is about a 2-week period. We had a therapist who unfortunately just broke his femur skiing. So we're juggling things around. So when we're fully staffed for physical therapy, it's about 2 weeks turnaround for patients to be able to get in. Speech therapy has really kind of volumes have taken off on us. So that one's a little bit longer. It's probably about a month or so. But I am hopeful to have another speech therapist hired. So that should go back down to kind of matching those 1 to 2 weeks. Historically, our wheelchair programs taken anywhere between 3 and 4 or 5 months to get in. With kind of the staffing changes, we've taken the opportunity to kind of revamp that program as well. So as soon as we're back and restaffed appropriately, I bet it's probably 1 to 2 months for patients to be able to get in for a wheelchair evaluation.
Great. Thank you. And Dora, there was one other question in the chat. Lisa asked, how do parents and children who are down in southern Utah who need to travel hours up north streamline services such as wheelchair upgrades? Who's a good contact for that?
I think our wheelchair program, just the main line, would be fantastic for that. And Dora can provide that information. Typically, what we do is after a wheelchair is delivered, what makes our program unique is we provide ongoing follow-up care for fit and function of that wheelchair. So we provide follow-up appointments usually every 6 to 9 months. If it's a kiddo who's a little bit older and not growing as fast and isn't hard on their wheelchair, we'll go out a year. If it's somebody who's super hard on their wheelchair, we'll see them back every 3 months. And that's what our technician level appointments are doing. So those are typically scheduled as soon as their appointments are over. And we know that we have something coming up for them in timely periods. If something breaks on the chair in the meantime, we do have enough flexibility and openings in the schedule. The families can call us and we're able to fit them in, again, kind of in their convenience. Usually it takes us a day or two, sometimes a week to be able to get them in to fix that chair.
Perfect. Thanks, Rick. Amelia's got her hand up, and then there's another question in the chat. So go ahead, Amelia, and ask whatever, and then we'll get to Bora's question.
Yeah, you mentioned no longer need to be established with orthopedics before seeing PT. Is that the same for like the wheelchair seating clinic and the like gait lab, or is it just for like PTOT treatment?
So right now it's PT, OT, and speech. We can do therapy community referrals, so direct referrals for that. I'll let Dora speak to the gait lab and to our POPs department. Right now, we're choosing to keep our wheelchair services kind of in-house. It would still be that referral through our orthopedic clinics. Part of the reason that we're doing that is the tremendous amount of paperwork that needs to go along with procuring a wheelchair. Right now, it's easier for us to keep that in-house and keep that streamlined. Right now, our typical turnaround for getting a patient a wheelchair through insurance is about 3 months. And then if we open that up, just the timeframes to get letters of medical necessity signed and all the appropriate paperwork and signatures back through our vendors really extends those time periods, sometimes 6 or 9 months. So right now we're keeping that closed through our own physicians.
And then there was a question in the chat. Bora asked, what partnerships have you built with other organizations, and how have those collaborations improved the outcomes for individuals and families you serve?
is this specific for the rehabilitation services or for as a general?
Yeah, as a general.
Okay, so we have always had a partnership with Primary Children's Hospital. So when it comes, as I mentioned in the beginning, we utilize their surgical suite. So we work with our whole entire team, and our providers as they are seeing patients here. Depending on what provider it is, if it's closer to home for them to do a surgery in the Lehigh location, they have the ability to do that down there. Obviously, what the thing that's unique about Shriners is that comprehensive wraparound care and everyone working as a team for all those other services. So when they're post surgery, they come back and have all those services under the same roof. So that has always been a very strong relationship with Primary Children's. The University of Utah, they are always so open and welcoming to connecting with us. That's really, we have that partnership. All of our doctors also work with the University of Utah. So really it's a triangle of a really good, strong relationship with our providers, and to make sure that those patients have access to our care here at Shriners, and that model and mission that's taking care of all their needs. When it comes to other partnerships, I don't know if Rick has any specific to the rehabilitation services. I myself, I am an instructor with the state highway system. They have 15 instructors, and we partner with them because of the special needs car seat clinic. It is such a unique clinic, and patients, that's just something that is really needed in the state. And as we work as a team with other organizations, and that includes Primary Children's, the University of Utah, and so many clinics and hospitals in the state of Utah, we all come together to work together. And they, if we can't take care of one of the patients, they contact me, I contact them depending on what they may need. So that as well with the state of Utah is a really strong relationship as well, with the Highway Safety Patrol. I know there's so many more, but that's specific to what the world I involved myself in is with the University of Utah Primary Children's and the state of Utah. Rick, I don't know if there's anything specific to your program. I know that you partner with specifically for the specialty bicycles.
Yeah, I would say partnerships, not probably nothing immediately comes to mind, but collaboration and communication with, anybody who could potentially help us with therapy services, whether that be some of the vendors that we use for getting wheelchairs or some of the other nationwide companies that help us out with the adaptive bike programs. All the way down to physicians who are out in our valley and in our community. If I'm working with one of their patients and they need something as simple as Botox injections, emails back and forth or phone calls back and forth to give my recommendations of what I'm seeing for that child and where I think Botox might be most beneficial.
Thank you, Rick. And then I don't know if you have all heard, the news is out there that Shriners will be also collaborating with that new hospital, Intermountain Primary Children's in Las Vegas. That will be opening in 2030. But we've started to see patients already. I believe that starts in May. Any other questions or? All right. I don't know if that takes up the whole time.
That's perfect. Thank you, Dora. Wonderful understanding of what Shriners does and great questions with that. We're going to move on to our case presentation. Dan, if you're here,
Yep, right here.
do you want me to share, or do you want to share your case?
If you've got them pulled up, why don't you go ahead and share? If not, I'll pull them up and share.
I have it.
Okay. Cool. So, I work out a lot in the community with the Utah Assistive Technology Program. See a lot of different individuals. I would say I see a lot more that are adults than kids, but I do still see a fair amount that are kids and teenagers. And this is just an example of one that I had case that had been reached out to me in the past. I thought would be a good discussion for today. So Corey is starting kindergarten this year, and his classroom teacher and sped ed teacher are reaching out from some AT. So they contacted me. So Corey's pretty smart, pretty healthy, energetic, and is ambidextrous with his mouth. And the reason for that is because he doesn't have any hands or feet or elbows or knees. His shoulder and hip joints have the full range of motion, but each limb ends in a smooth, short nub. The video I remember being sent of this had him breakdancing on the floor. So what he's got it, and he's got it good, but he's obviously missing quite a bit. Corey's parents are not against prosthetics, but neither are they encouraging him in that direction. They aren't really encouraging him in any direction. They're letting him find his way. It's kind of the thing that was expressed to me. We want him to find his own path. Corey does not use a mobility device at home, preferring to roll around. An aide is currently assigned to support Corey at school as needed. So you can see kind of a unique situation. You can see parents are reaching out, looking for a unique solution, right? Yeah, we'll go ahead to the next one. So here's kind of where focus is here. Teachers have expressed needing solutions for educational access in these areas. Computer access. It's not very hygienic for Corey to use his tongue on the iPad screen. So we need a different way for him to be using instead of his face. Limbs are not accurate enough for using on a touchscreen, and also just generally not long enough. Writing utensil access. Not hygienic for Corey to use in his mouth to hold his pencil or crayon. He's bitten through several of the crayons and eventually bites through the pencils, and also just swapping it out, just kind of for something not very hygienic there. Physical height access. Corey cannot climb onto the classroom chair. Currently, the aide is lifting Corey onto the seat, but that's not really ideal. The aides aren't really supposed to be lifting. And eventually, you know, this is kindergarten, not too heavy, but he's going to keep growing. So thinking through all of his elementary school years, how are we going to provide a solution for that situation, that transfer? Next. Here's some things that they've already been working on. The school OT created a slide with like some horizontal rungs on it, right? Kind of a ladder. And he tried to have Corey crawl up that to the chair. However, Corey struggled because it's like army crawling uphill, and he doesn't have too much for limbs there to be crawling with, so it wasn't really working. The family lives in southern Utah, but they do visit Shriners in Salt Lake City. And I didn't actually plan that together, so that was wonderful. That worked out with our presentation today. Kind of forgotten about that. They have been kind of encouraging the family towards using prosthetics for Corey, but the parents haven't really chosen to implement that yet. Next slide. So that's going to be the information you guys are going to be taking into the breakout. And in your different groups, you're going to be focusing on each one of those things and kind of brainstorming a solution for the teachers implementing the classroom, and also then thinking about how you're going to propose that to the parents. I also would like to take a second and open it up for questions. We don't really normally do this, but I found in some other breakout groups, we end up then talking amongst ourselves and saying like, well, if I could have asked this question about this case study's background, it would help me answer this better. So does anyone have any questions about this before we split off into our different groups? You know, if it's fairly clear, great. But if you have any questions on the background of it, you can ask me probably 2 questions. I don't want to eat up all our time.
Hey, Dan, I've got 3 questions. Just easy.
Okay.
Could you go back to the limb differences and explain that a little bit? Are some extended a little bit more? Trying to get a picture of what he might have to work with.
Yeah, so there's kind of like some loose leg ankle attachments, but he doesn't have any control over it. So it's not like there's a nub that could clasp something on any of these. Like if there is technically a joint, it's not a functional joint, it's just kind of floating bone, right? And then yes, if it was going to be scaled up to me, it would be about that far on all of the limbs.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really hard to really reach anything, you know, but he can break dance.
And Dan, just a quick question with the family situation. Does he have siblings? Is he an only child? How does that?
Only child, a little bit older parents.
Okay.
Kind of that was the situation there.
I have a question about why is sitting in a chair important? Is it just so that he is like the other students? I mean, most of us sit in chairs because we have legs and that's more comfortable, right? So why is the chair important?
I would say the 2 situations are running into with the chair is in the classroom, sitting up to the desk, or like at a work table, they'll sometimes have those kind of fan-shaped tables for group activities. So generally they'll pick him up so that he's not left out of the group, you know, kind of on a separate desk or something. And he tends to like that. They didn't mention this to me, but I'm also realizing probably the lunchroom, just the setup and everything in there, they'd want to have him up and at the table with everyone else. But yes, that is bringing some thoughts there. You could probably set some things up on the floor, but okay, I'll stop there and we'll break out into our groups and we can discuss some things there. Thank you.
All right, Leo. So everybody should have access to their rooms.
This meeting is being recorded.
So my computer has blacked out, Leo, so I don't have anything. So I'm gonna have you take it away.
Okay, that's great. Did we want to still share ideas from the breakout rooms? Is that okay? Did you want to go first then, Janelle?
Sure, I'll be glad to go first. So, we had some discussions around the computer, and Eric had a great recommendation of using the Microsoft Adaptive Hub for this and encouraged us all to play around with it. The other thing that we talked about was talking to parents about long-term goals and creating a full day plan of all of the transitions.
Awesome. And then I know I had Bora and Lisa, I think, in the same room, if you wanted to share an idea.
Yeah, we had lots of fun ideas, great information sharing, but definitely we all agreed on educating parents what resources are out there and also finding what the child wants to do. Some of the solution or suggestions, creating a chair with a seat that lowers all the way to the floor, adding apparatus or additional support to the chair, possibly utilizing the existing feet or leg of the chair to assist in the transfer process. So we were talking about the environmental access, more of it. What else? We also consider adaptive strategies such as using the mouse, the sip and puff, or the head control, or anything that could support access to reaching the table, or you even using the power chair to how is it going to use it in the long run. So a lot of those adaptive controls that we also talked about. Did I miss anything, Lisa? If, okay.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Then I'll have just Kurt or Kent share something from their breakout room.
Yeah, Ken, I can do it since I took notes. I've got them here. Looking at getting the parents on board with implementing some solutions. We talked about a number of things. Does it have to be exactly the same at home as it is at school? Could they use a power chair at school, but not at home if there's concerns over that? Also helping the parents recognize that while this kid right now is pretty small and liftable and carryable, eventually he's going to turn into an adult and it's going to be more difficult to move them around. And so just helping the parents come to the realization that, for his well-being out in the community or in school, as well as just for their well-being and being able to have to transport him, that it might be, good to have him look at some different types of mobility. On the ideas of the teachers, we looked a lot about that with regard to the tablet. And we talked a lot about like 3D printing. Could you 3D print something that you could attach to one of the residual limbs that had a little stylus on the end to use a tablet or the computer? Could you do that for utensils for eating with? Something that you could put a crayon or a pencil in, that you'd be able to do that. And I know 3D printing is pretty common and they use it quite a bit in the assistive technology world. And so just looking at some of those kind of simple solutions for, we kind of go high tech immediately, but I think sometimes those simple solutions are the easiest ones. And Kent, made the point, whatever limb is the most accurate, that could be the one that you make that little stylus or little prosthetic for. So.
Hey, that's awesome. Sounds like you guys had some really good conversations in those breakout rooms. And I just wanted to remind everyone to make sure that you've completed that survey. I've been dropping that survey link in the chat throughout today's session, and when you complete it, you do get a certificate of attendance. So if you want that certificate, make sure you complete that survey. If you're interested in presenting a case at one of these sessions, make sure you email projectecho@usu.edu, and one of the team members can always help you get a case presentation set up for the Assistive Technology Solutions Echo. And then also don't forget to follow us on our socials for updates, resources, and more. I've dropped the links in the chat as well. And our next Assistive Tech Solutions Echo is going to be on May 5th. We're having Jason Wheeler speak to us about mobility, independence, and daily living. So we're really excited about that. Thank you, guys.